Okay, so we're going to cover the basics of t-tests, walk through. I wanted to mention that I'll be giving a link in YouTube to this material if you want to view it in more depth, since we're going to go pretty fast. So the first module is explaining a t-test, and just wanted to note we're not going to go into details of calculating the t-values. We're simply going to use them. So what is a t-test? It's used for a statistical hypothesis test to analyze one or two sample means. And some facts you can take a look at. It's a type of test statistic. It produces a single value known as the t-value. If t equals 0, that would mean that there's no significant difference between the hypothesis and what you're testing. And then as the value of t gets much, much greater, then there is more significance to the differences that you've tested. There are three cases of interest to us. It could be used if you have a sample mean and you want to compare it to a hypothesis, or two independent samples you're wanting to compare, or a difference of what's called paired samples, which we'll be looking at in our example. So this was a very, very brief walkthrough, so I wanted to point you to a useful reference in case you wanted to dig in more deeply, and also a bit of a picture, which is worth 1,000 words. So Jim was kind enough to put together a nice statistics web page. So there you can see the t-value equals 0, and then in this case 3% probability if t would equal 2 in order to understand some of the probability. And then there's a shout out to Statistics by Jim. And we will move on to our example, which hopefully will make a few things more clear. The paper I'm going to cover is an experiment in allowing teachers to train with engineering students in order to teach robotics to their students. So as they say again, a picture's worth 1,000 words. So on the far left, we have our teachers. On the far right, we have our engineers, and they're helping a dear robot in need of a program. So this was an interesting way to train pre-service teachers. And to move to the t-test application, the authors of the paper developed two metrics in order to quantify the benefits of this particular pairing. They gave a quiz and also a survey, and the key point I want to emphasize right here is that the participants were given a pre-test, and then those same participants were given a post-test. And this is tailor-made for the t-testing that we're talking about. So very quickly, let's look over the results. And once again, to emphasize, we're going to compare two things, the pre-test score and the post-test score. And in the paper on page 1306, here's an excerpt where we can see they've got a t-value, and they're saying there was a significant difference, and the probability is only about 4%, and their threshold was 5. So we can see why they're claiming a significant increase. And then also the self-efficacy test had similar results for them, also summarized on page 1306. So that is our brief introduction, and there is a complete reference of the source material. And I want to thank you so much for taking the time to watch this preview video, and I encourage you to use the web link and dig in a little bit more deeply. Thank you.